The style of painting I would say it's semi-abstract. There are a lot of abstract shapes and forms, but with some representational imagery. And what you're seeing right now, the representational imagery would be the figure, and that's something that follows through in my work a lot.
You gave to me to show someone who's lost.
The third is service to others. Many people donated their time and expertise to these projects. And the last theme is the arts. We value and celebrate the arts.
And then we sewed every branch on. We spent a lot of hours, a lot of thread, a lot of burns, a lot of needles. And that's how we did it.
Last year, we've been working to create a school garden. The idea of that garden was to be connected to the school curriculum, so working with the support of the Lawrence PTO and the Friends of Lawrence Park, we were able to construct a garden in an area adjacent to the school. Once we constructed the garden, we had this large concrete wall, and several people raised the idea that wouldn't it be nice to put a mural? In another school where I had been principal prior to Lawrence, I had worked on a couple of mural projects with David Fichter, who's a well-known local muralist. So our PTO visual arts chairperson, Jessica Eber, worked with me and wrote 2 grants, a Massachusetts Cultural Council residency grant and a Brookline Commission for the Arts grant. The reason that I wanted to work with David again is that he involves all of the children in the school.
I met with the art teacher and asked her to work with her students through the art classes to create drawings based on our theme. Now the theme in general was the garden, but there's many ways to interpret that, so that's what she worked with the kids to do. And I think she gave me a stack of like 300 or 400 drawings from all different ages. So I collaged the design together using their actual drawings, and then we have a sort of a master drawing then of what the mural will look like. And all I do is I take the drawing and we make transparencies for a copier, and then with an overhead projector, we project it right onto the walls, the panels. In this case, we did it in the gym.
We had our 7th and 8th graders, some of them help with actually tracing those sketches right onto the panels. And then we lined up 12 4x8 panels in the basement, and over 2.5 weeks, every student in the school helped with painting under the supervision of the artist and Jessica and a number of parent volunteers.
I know you're trying mightily. We weren't together. So this is not a criticism. You're doing such a great job making the dong 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 sound like a bell tolling, and that it gets delayed a little bit or something. So be sure it doesn't slow you down. Okay. So let's just start from there.
I sang in high school, college, medical school, and even during internship, and a little bit during my psychiatry residency. And there followed 20 years of not singing, which I found ultimately intolerable, and began to look around for choruses. And I auditioned 3 or 4 different choruses here in town, and finally struck on this one, which seemed to have the best spirit and the most energy. And I strongly believe in 2 things about it. One is the no audition approach. Anyone who can sing is welcome to sing. And it also does work in the community by providing music to nursing homes and senior residence centers. And I think it's a very nice expression of the mission of this kind of a group, which is the Coolidge Corner Community Chorus.
And then, so you got to listen to it too, even though you're doing this beat. And
Sure, yes.
and we don't abandon the Naga.
Don't abandon the
Naga.
Naga. We are being in Naga when we move forward a little bit on those moving notes.
Right.
And basses being the root of all rhythmic precision that they are in any choral piece ever written, they're thinking a straight 3. 1, 2, 3. And we're going 1, 2, 3, 1, 2, 3, 1. We're getting to the 1 a little sooner.
So their part is the hardest.
So their part is the hardest.
Is
Yeah. Why do an amateur chorus? Why not do something that's auditioned, where you're guaranteed singers of a certain quality? With a non-auditioned chorus, you count on those chorus members recognizing in the music something they need and must express. Okay, 1, 2, 3, 1, 2.
People who are number 1, uno, eins, or en, please stand and go over there. Number 1. So, this is your job. The information on the piece of paper, so you have to be where you can actually read the piece of paper, read through it, and decide as a group what you think that person's background, in terms of their upbringing, their family, all that stuff, would have been for them to end up with those 4 criteria.
I'm actually from Miami, Florida. I came from a musical family. My sister and I did piano lessons, flute lessons, singing, and I moved up north for college and majored in literature and then went into teaching. And so after I graduated from college and got my teaching degree, I became an English and music teacher in schools and out of schools for a number of years now in the area.
Okay, and based on that, what did you guys come up with for what you thought this person's background, upbringing might have been?
Well, for his background, we thought of a sort of a church background because he introduced spirituals.
What we came up with was make a difference, interested in the brain, determined, and a poor female.
Thank you.
And,
so what did you guys come up with?
We said he was not affluent, male, educated, and white.
Okay. Very interesting. Now, I will give you the actual information. Can you all come back this way?
Roland Hayes was from Georgia originally. His parents were enslaved African Americans, and he had a pretty difficult childhood. His father died when he was young, and so he had to drop out of school around age 11 to work to support the family. At age 20, he decided he wanted to attend college, and so at that point he had to take a lot of remedial courses and do tutoring to catch up, to be ready for college, and he ended up enrolling at Fisk University in Tennessee, in Nashville. He came with the Fisk Jubilee Singers to a tour here in Boston, and when the group left, he stayed and decided that he was going to make his home here, make a professional career as a solo recitalist, a solo singer.
Okay, so things that we know about the Fisk Jubilee Singers are 8 of the original 10 were former slaves. Benjamin Carson, degree in psychology, Yale University, top neurosurgeon for kids in the entire world. Like, people would fly from Germany to have him operate on their children.
As an African American, he was banned from Symphony Hall initially. They said, we won't host your recital here, you can't do it. And he actually became more famous in Europe and then was able to come back home and gain notoriety here. That by the 1920s, he was actually the highest paid tenor, the highest paid singer in the world. And so part of why he's so important is not only because of what he accomplished as a musician, but also that he was one of the first African Americans, if not the first, there's still some debate, to own property in Brookline and to live here. And so this is the town where he owned a home, he raised his daughter here, lived here with his wife until his death.
This is my piece of sculpture. It's called Invitation, for people to really use their eyes and look around it and through it and see the water behind it. I was in Mali, West Africa in January, and there were a lot of structures with just these parallel bars with branches, and I find it very, very beautiful. Most of my work is actually in bamboo, and it's usually very linear, making arches and doing things like that. And I actually won 2 honorable mentions from the National Bamboo Society because they seem to like it too. But bamboo is wonderful because I can recycle it. I can take it down. It takes about 8 hours to put up a piece of sculpture and maybe an hour to take it down. I just unbolt it and reuse it.
Are we supposed to write this?
Why don't you make a little note of it? Yeah.
Okay, what do we write?
One of these pieces are made of MRI film, which is the film that doctors use to look inside your body. And since we're near the Longwood medical area, I wanted to make something beautiful from a material that's normally perceived as scary or threatening.
Yeah?
They have cutouts, and also they have little solar lights. So at night there'll be a little twinkling through the cutouts of each piece. And they're all different. The cutouts kind of told me what direction to go in with the paint. So once I selected my colors, I sort of had a process and did everything at once. And it was really fun for me to do because mostly I do mosaics.
So it's called camouflage, and as the leaves come out on the trees, it will be more and more camouflage. Most of it was foliage from the winter damage that we had, and so how do we use that? And so this is how I'm using it.
They're yours to sell with whatever that you bought them.
I like this side because the sun comes through and it becomes a cell structure. And there's over 100 copper scrubbies in here. It's made of pipe cleaners and pumpkin stems, and that's it. And this has been like knitting a sweater for a monster, a scratchy sweater for a monster.
The title of this is Foreclosure. And it's a deeply ironic piece because it's about a social ill in a world in which birds have nests where they can sleep and eat and raise their young. And humans are foreclosed out of their homes and they're homeless. So these folks, these stick people, live in a bird's nest.
Caliente, we are actually the owners of Dance Caliente. We are the business owners, we are the dance teachers, we are the dance performers. And what we try to do is to bring ballroom and Latin social dance to as many people as possible in the most non-intimidating way, the most creative ways that we can find. And we do that through our classes, which happen in Arlington and in Medford at Brick Step, and also through interactive programs like you're about to see.
This whole interactive performance started several years ago. We were solicited from Arlington. They were doing a huge 200-year celebration of the town of Arlington. And they came to us and said, we're going to have a big ball at Town Hall, and we're having a live orchestra, and we would love for people to experience what kind of ballroom dancing went on during those whole 200 years. So what happened next was I was having copies made of our flyers at Staples. And the woman next to me who was having copies made, she works in Winchester, the Gables.
That's right.
Assisted living. And she looked over my shoulder. Oh, you're a dancer. Oh, social dance. Oh, do you do performances for seniors? I said, of course we do. She says, because we would love to have a show.
The waltz came from Vienna. It became very popular at the Habsburg court. And people danced waltz differently then. How many of you would like to come up here and try it? It's a very nice move. Yes? Okay, we have gentlemen right here. Give them a hand, everybody. Yes. Okay, now, I need a partner. Oh, we have a partner right here. Very nice. Okay, so now, the way it looks, like, we can stand up like this. Just now, like this, just like this, side by side. And then you step forward, side touch, side touch, side touch, side touch. So this is how the waltz was danced at the Habsburg court. Of course, the dance master.
That's where Dancing Through the Decades was put together. We used all the material that we created for the Arlington 200 anniversary ball. We saw how successful that was with an adult population, and we said, this should work. And we created it for the Gables, and we performed it there, and the response was so amazing, so uplifting. So that was the next stage, was how do we make this affordable? And that was to apply for the local cultural council grants.
Right before the voting booth. Yeah.
Something like that. I have to check it. Yeah, her people remind me so much of Sendak. That's who I love. Jessica, what was I supposed to not do? Can you remember? Oh yeah, that's right. Don't try to varnish outdoors when it's not quite spring.
Playwright?
Screenplay?
Screenplay, yes.
What do you need, David?
Add a good play.
That might be all right for the base.
Oh!
It's for the flower, right? Like in there. And then much lighter on the outside. So when you guys are done with that color, hopefully you made a lot of it.
they decided to have the kids at school draw the pictures for the mural. So everybody had a bunch of art classes to do that.
Yeah, and then David Victor, he took the drawings and he put some of them together and he made a design.
So far we've painted pictures on these big white canvases that go like there and all the way up.
Well, I think it's a good idea for like promoting the garden and like having people learn how to grow locally. I think the mural is a really good start off for that project as well. So yeah.
At the very beginning in our art classes, we had to draw pictures of things that could happen. Like a few of my friends decided to draw dancing trees, which didn't get in. They were pretty upset.
And have all this page. So that's what we're going to work on with. So I want everybody to come get one of these. You know which one? They're different sizes. They're big ones, they're small ones. I connected with the Brookline Art Center 3 years ago. When one of my ex-professors from UMass Dartmouth told me about the center, and I did some research about them and the great work they were doing, you know, with their institute teaching, you know, adults, teens, and kids, all forms of art. So I replied to an ad. They were hiring artists and teachers, and so I applied, and I became part of the Brookline Art family. So everybody has a book. Right, that they chose, good. The buildings from a distance. You know, when you're driving into Boston, you see the skyline of Boston. You drive into New York City's skyline from things where we can sleep, where we can be safe. And it's also an area where we. And so, what we're going to do, we're going to collect a lot of information. We're going to do a lot of collages, placements on maps and stuff like that. And so, we're talking just about heritage and where we come from, and it's a way of talking about identity, which my exhibition is all about. We have yarn. A piece of yarn can show you maybe where you went. You moved from Michigan all the way to, and did like a curl it and stick it, glue it on, showing where you traveled. Oh, I have a picture of a cat in this book with the zoo. It's a picture of a cougar. It's not like a house cat, but you can still use one. I don't think we have a house like that. It's so nice, right? But what I like here, Carter, is that some of your objects are large and then some are smaller, so it balances off the composition. Yeah. And you can cut out things from like I drew a tree, I can cut out a tree from there. Yes, a little bit of water. Firm and soft. It's what? Firm and soft. Wanna? Oh, it's a little fun. Oh, good. I'm glad. Glad you're having fun. Yeah, making art is a lot of fun.
This year, everything fell into place, and people who'd had some experience singing in other groups and experience singing in college sort of tried it out, liked the repertoire, immediately established an affinity between the members of the group.
I'm an accountant, and I joined this group, the CCCC, in September of 2010. This is my first year, and I love singing. I started in high school, And to me, I would like to get a sense of belonging, and I found out that there's a chorale group, so I joined.
That's good. Now sing it. La, 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 la. Like classical music. Okay, ready, go. La, la, la. There you go. Super. Remember that. Write something in. Ready, go. Quo Sancto Spiritus. Chronos, dance. Quo Sancto Spiritus. Programming is always an interesting thing. The Baroque mindset, beginning with that impertinent phrase, a pearl of irregular shape, which was first intended as an insult, when in fact what it did was yield a breadth of expression in one period, in 1500 years, one period of music that goes far beyond what everyone sort of stereotypically thinks of as Vivaldi's Four Seasons and Bach counterpoint and inventions, but a richness of color and expressiveness and a depth of human sensibility.
I sang Baroque, Vivaldi and Bach before, but some of the music that Lee has picked are from different composers that I was not familiar before, but I really enjoyed the pieces that she picked. Back in August, my brother was sick, and he found out that he has cancer. And for me to come join this group, it took my mind off, and it has been a very spiritual uplifting for me that I keep coming. And my brother passed away in April, and it has been good, like I said, spiritual uplifting for me to come and join and sing this kind of music. And even after the concert on Saturday, I'm still humming some of the songs that we sing there. So have been glad that I was able to do this, and I will continue to join this group in the coming years.
Could you please come on the platform and I'll do my background again? But All right. Turn and face. Make the connection. What do you think?
No, I'm not a sister. I'm not 120.
Yeah, that would be a little.
Daughter.
So, this is the daughter of Roland Hayes.
Well, as you know, it's my father's 124th birthday. I'm 77, so I'm getting there. My father was a very complex man in a way. I started playing the piano at 3. I'm still playing the piano. I play for various ballet schools now. I used to be a concert singer until I started teaching school. I have 2 daughters. One who sings in 3 gospel choruses. And I have one who was the only African-American this color to dance in Boston Ballet. The only one. she's teaching ballet.
Have you always lived like in Boston? Have you always grown?
Well, our home was in Brookline, as you probably know. It's not far from here, as a matter of fact. It's on Allerton Street. I attended the Brookline Public Schools. I went to Bristol. And then I went to Brookline High School.
When I was in college, that's when I actually first got involved with the recital through Roland Hayes' granddaughter, Zeta, who sang in a choir with me in college. And she told me back in, I think it was 2002, she said, "There's this recital every year for my granddad. Would you come sing?" And I said, "Sure." And I've been doing it ever since.
Song number 1.
I'll tell all the Savior. I'll tell all the Savior.
Over the last couple of years, I've taken more of a leadership role in terms of organizing it. Things that we had noticed in the past that were concerning where there weren't a lot of young people. There are so many factors in society that push them to conform, that tell them they shouldn't do certain things, they shouldn't sing German, they shouldn't do opera, you know, poor people don't do this, African Americans don't do that, Hispanics don't do this, Asians don't sing in gospel choirs.
All right, song number 2's picking up. Let me see what you got. We got concertized spirituals. We got concertized spirituals. We got anthemic spirituals.
And so we developed, Mr. Kempf and I developed this education program that would go into the schools, educate young people, hopefully get their families also involved, and to really just get the word out about Roland Hayes and why he's an important figure and why we should be celebrating his legacy here in the community.
My show in the fall was called Zero Pets, and then my show in the spring was called How To.
First off, I wanted to thank Max here from Cafe Fix, who graciously hosts us every month. And I also wanted to thank the Brookline Commission for the Arts, who is underwriting a series this year. It's our first year doing that. Second Tuesday of every month is when we do the series. You can find out more about upcoming concerts at nonevent.org. We also have a mailing list you can sign up for. And now, with no further ado, Max Lord Ghost Tracks.
I'm interested in working with fairly simple sounds compared to a lot of electronic musicians, so I like just like white noise and sine waves, and my approach is really improv based. I generally have like control of the instrument in terms of like I know what it's going to do, but I don't know where I'm going to go with it in a piece. It really just depends on the moment. I never studied music professionally or academically, aside from like being in a band, which I hated in school. But I did go to MIT and I took some electronic music courses there with some like well-known composers there. Over time, I started to figure out a way like how I could make something meaningful with the electronic. That took me a long time to kind of think of a way to put things together that was meaningful with the electronics. So that took a while, but I was always interested in it.
Yep. Okay. So you want to do the next one?
What? I did. I think it went down in that little hole.
Yet you never gave up on it, and here we are. Well, we're not done yet, but.
Okay, so what was the idea? We're going to go ahead and put each one in. If you want to pull me back a little, I could do the top one.
Just pull these back. Now, do you think it has something to do with what we were having before?
Nice job, Malcolm. Good hustle.
Cardboard boxes.
All right, look, guys, let's grab these.
Glad about it. 8 years of parochial school was enough.
One of our volunteers, Phil, was
Playground after school yesterday, there must have been over 100 kids out there.
I wouldn't doubt it. I wouldn't doubt it.
Sabrina, do you think that quasi-Australian flag is for you guys?
Turns out, from dance you get romance. And my partner ended up getting a fella, and I ended up getting a wife. I met my wife during swing dance. That was so much fun. And I don't know how many of you, through dancing, have met someone very special.
When we teach our adults how to dance, we do something instead of counting. And I'd like you to experience it right from your seat. Could you all repeat after me and do what I'm doing? Ka. Could you do that? Ka. But I'd like you to really add those shoulders, please. Ka. Excellent. Ka. Ka. Ka.
And then later on, when we met, we applied that to every form of dance. With her experience, with my creativity, put it all together. It was amazing.
For instance, if you have swing dance, which usually you count in sixes, so it's 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. Instead, we'd go, ooga, ooga. And so many people get so intimidated by numbers.
I'll say the dance floor is open if anybody else wants to dance.
Did you see Ruth Ann over there? How are you? Great, that's wonderful.
Please note that in the program, we ask that you hold your applause because it will, one, save time, and two, provide for a bit more of a continuum of musical experience rather than breaking to applaud, if you care to applaud. If not, well, then I've just embarrassed myself. So let's begin this concert. Thank you.
It's a nice fluid kind of feel. That's what I like in the work. So some of them like feel like water, like sea.
Yeah.
So it's all about like culture and identity. Me coming from Trinidad, coming here, you know, the change I grew up with a lot of strong female influences in my life. I have many sisters and my mother, all very strong influences on me. And then just the colors, the use of color to represent my Trinidadian background. We have carnival, we have music, we have the steel drum, the rhythm, the way that people walk, the way we talk, the foods that we eat, the spicy foods that we eat. You know, all of that comes out in the work in so many different ways and elements.
Good morning, Lawrence School. I am so proud to welcome you to our annual Earth Day community meeting. This year, we gather to celebrate two very special projects in our school garden and our brand new mural.
This is such a representation for community, for diversity. The theme of the garden and the theme of the mural are just perfect.
That I want to thank the Massachusetts Cultural Council because more than anything, they listen to artists and they're out there really on the ground with the people of the state of Massachusetts all over the state doing wonderful work to support projects just like this. So without them, there's no way we could do these kinds of things. So thank you to them. Let's unveil.
Are you ready?
Yeah!
Are you ready?
Yeah!
Okay, 1, 2, 3.
And I've been a mural artist for the last, going on 30 years. Very early on, I realized the kind of interest and value of working with students. I was doing a mural up in the city of Lawrence. And while I was working on the mural, there were always kids coming by and they would be asking me, like, can we help on this mural? I want to paint and all this. And I'm thinking to myself, wait a second, this is my mural. You guys can't paint on this mural. Well, these kids really want to paint on a mural. Maybe I should figure out a way in which that can happen. So I went to a nearby school and we set up a project with the school to do a mural that winter. But this time the kids in the school came up with the ideas and we created a mural about the city. And that went really well. I enjoyed it a lot. I learned a lot from it. And so I've been doing that ever since for the hundreds and hundreds of schools all over the state and other states too.
In theory and in practice, I think that music needs to belong to human beings. I think that even the most refined, the most artistically expressive music has at its root a human impulse and a human expression, and I don't think that should just be reserved for people who've gained entrance into the club.
We had administrators who came to us and said, you know that woman who was standing up and talking to you? She hasn't gotten out of her wheelchair in the last 3 years. You know that other woman who was talking to you? She hasn't said a word in the last couple of years.
And all I could think of this morning as I was driving here
was that 10 years from now, 15 years from now, 20 years from now, when all of you come back to this school, and we hope that you do, and walk through here, you're going to be able to see what you contributed to this. You're going to be able to show your children, your grandchildren, what you contributed to this project. And that is a very, very powerful message.
And Roland Hayes, as well as the individuals that we introduced to the students today, are people who really went beyond those limitations and said, this is who I am, and I'm going to work, and I'm going to study, and I'm going to train, and I'm going to work some more to be that person and to develop those gifts that I have and to become the person that I know I'm supposed to be and the person that I am, even though society is saying, you can't do that. You're a black boy, the son of slaves from rural Georgia. What are you doing trying to sing opera in Boston? What are you doing trying to sing opera for kings and queens in England? And yet that's exactly what he did.